I know you're crazy, but I only wanna be with you. You think I'm shady cause I'm out here trying to make some moves, but it ain't like that. Just know that I'll be right back. I'll give you all my time just to let you know you're mine. It ain't nothing, promise I'ma do it all to give you something. This love I got is only for you. You're my comfort, my future husband. I'ma give you all my heart, yeah, all of it, yeah. Baby, I know that I gotta come fix it. You the only nigga that I be missing. Swear I'm coming home to give you the business. Turn off my phone, it can leave me a message. I'ma just cover your body with kisses, kisses. Rub your body down, you know that I miss it, miss it.
What's up, y'all? I just wanted to upload these clips real quick because I don't know when Wildin' Out is gonna be shown on TV again. So, and the last episode that aired on TV was the one where, you know, because I went back and did a couple episodes, and where me and Jen are on opposite teams. You know, MC Jen, 106 & Park, Freestyle Friday Jen, and I thought it was such a dope moment. And I don't know when it's gonna get shown again. So I was like, let me just put it on my YouTube so I have it here. You know what I'm saying? You know, me coming up rapping in junior high and high school, and then I see Jen on 106 & Park Freestyle Friday killing the battles on BET. Like it was such a dope thing for me to watch growing up. And then I got on Wildin' Out, and then the fact that he's on Wildin' Out as a new school member and we're battling each other, like I feel like it's a very monumental full circle situation. And also for, like, you know, just like the Asian hip hop community, you know. So yeah, here you go.
If you was Aladdin in a new world, you still couldn't get a Wildin' Out girl.
Wildin' Out girl, okay they fun, but I smashed your girl and her name was Mulan.
Her name's Mulan, don't mean to dish ya. My girl Mulan, dog, that was your sister.
That was my sister, you an imposter. When I'm in the cat, she call me Mufasa.
Call you Mufasa, that's what you say? Your girl Moana, she's all on my way.
All on my way, yeah, it's okay. Hey, what's up? Hey.
Asian on Asian violence.
Yeah, we out here. Bitch! They tried to replace me. But I know the truth. Your name might be Jin, but I got the juice.
Now check this. We both might be making chicken, you know, getting that dough. But you always been a soldier. I'm the real general, so...
I thought it was General Town.
Me too. Okay, check this out, though. Okay. They brought on another Asian dude to Wildin' Out. You know what? I thought I would hate it.
Uh-huh.
But yo, 2 Asian dudes on MTV? Ninja, we made it!
The royal penis is clean, Your Highness.
Thank you, king shit.
All right. Welcome to Happy Hour with Lito. I am your host. You know what I mean? Today, my special guest that I have is the first Asian American rapper to be signed to a major label.
Yikes.
My guy, MC Jen. What's up, brother?
Lito, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, but let me make a slight amendment to that title. So the whole, like, first Asian American signed to a label. Now, if we were to really get specific, I don't think I am the first, because even before me, I know that, let's say, if we go back to, you remember the group 2 Live Crew?
Right. Facts.
Right. So obviously that's way back, right? When I was like 8 or 9. I don't know why 8 or 9-year-old would be listening to 2 Live Crew.
We were around the same age. I'm 37.
So they had a rapper in the group. His name was Fresh Kid Ice. So he was actually, I believe he was Chinese and African American. So he was mixed, but he was very proud of his Chinese heritage too. So right. God bless the dead. He passed away like several years back. So there's him, and then before me as well, that I'm also very aware of, there was actually a group called the Mountain Brothers. It's three Asian dudes. I don't know specifically if they're Chinese or like
Word.
specifically where their family's from, but they came out even before me. I know this because I was probably a senior or a junior in high school, and I remember seeing their video on BET, on MTV, three Asian dudes rapping,
Wow.
and in the video they're like playing mahjong, which was mind blowing to me because that's like a very traditional, you know, Chinese household game. It's like a black family playing spades.
Facts.
So they're playing mahjong in a music video, and I'm just like, but I guess for me, maybe one of the things that people do acknowledge is in terms of like solo Asian American, and I guess the way I came out too, right, through the BET battling, signing with Double R. So there's that notion of like, well, I don't know if there was any before you, Jin, but you definitely the first one I know about.
Facts.
So
hey, that's you know, you just talked. I didn't know that.
but for me, what's important is to salute and to pay homage to the dudes before me, right, that paved the way, and in their own way, like all of us are just trying to kick down the door in some way, right? So, but I'm just glad to be part of that lineage. So,
facts.
Yeah.
So, you know, what I like to do is like I like to ask you know, I like to check on my guests. So, you know what I mean? Through this whole pandemic thing, everybody's, you know, mental health is really at risk. You know what I mean? So check and see how you doing or how you been doing through this time.
Yo, I appreciate that, man. That's a dope way to start it off. It don't seem like an interview. It seems like I'm just chopping it up.
We're
with
just
a friend.
talking. Yeah. Facts.
I like that. So I'll say this, man. It's definitely been segments of how I've been processing this whole pandemic thing. So I think last year, right, going back to, let's say, the first quarter of last year, February, March is when it really just started, right? Like here on the state, you're in the States, I'm in the States too. So I've been in the States basically since then. So I think a big shift for me was prior to that, I actually was spending most of my time overseas. So for work, right? Traveling whenever work needed, which if I had to break it down in numeric terms, so I was probably overseas for maybe 50% of the year. So 50% of the year over there, 50% of the year back home in NY. So I'm in NY. But the big shift for me last year in 2020 was, I essentially spent the whole year in NY, which is great, right? Which means, I'm spending more time on the home front. We have two little boys, right? Me and my wife. So on that note, it's great. But I guess it was just trying to balance like, I'm enjoying all of this downtime, but what does that mean on the work side? You know what I mean? Like, what does that mean in terms of, let's just be real about it. What does that mean in terms of how we navigate our finances, how we navigate my income, right? So thankfully, my wife, she held it down as she always has. But and in terms of just the way that my journey has been, and this is just real for anybody in the entertainment field. It just be up and down, even if not for the pandemic, right? And in one moment, you're like, I got 3 shows lined up. I got this acting gig and this joint right here. But then turn of the corner, it's like quiet as a ghost town, right? So, but yeah.
Wow. So, for people who, may not know a lot about you, give them a little bit about your story.
Well, so, I think I would start the story in Miami, Florida. I was born and raised there. My family's from Hong Kong. They came to America in the late 70s, early 80s, roughly. And I was born and raised in Miami. Grew up in, honestly, the best way to describe it, straight middle class, middle class household. So we had, the funny thing is I would like to say, how do I put it? We had cable, but we didn't have all the channels.
Same like me.
Middle class.
Yep.
Middle class. So I'm not gonna make it seem like we was doing worse than we really were, but we definitely wasn't living it up either, right? Like we would go on family trips, right? We would go to Disney World, but maybe only during the season when it's not peak prices, like when when the prices are a little lower, right? So that's my childhood. More specifically, my mom and pops, they had a takeout restaurant. And not to be cliche or stereotypical, but it's the reality. You know what I mean? I think a lot of families, especially from that era, it really was a handful of options. If it's not a Chinese takeout spot, it might be a laundromat, and it might be a nail salon, And is there a cultural tie to it? There is, but also because there just wasn't that many options. You know what I
Right.
mean? Especially of that era. We're talking the 80s, the 90s. So I grew up in that environment. So if you've ever went into a Chinese takeout restaurant, I'm not talking about like Panda Express. I'm talking about like the real mom
Yeah, I
and pop
have.
joints. Okay, everybody has. And the name of the restaurant, the name of the restaurant might be Chinese food. Like that's the name of the restaurant, right? And you go inside, you see the dad is the one that's cooking. You see the mom's on the phone, and then there's like the little 10-year-old. He might be sitting there doing his homework, but then he'll come up to the counter and he'll be like, "Can I help you?" or something like that. Right?
That was
That was
you.
me. That was my whole childhood. And that ties into, I think, why hip hop in some magical way became part of my life. I think as a kid, I always loved music in general. So I'm watching MTV, I'm watching music videos like everyone else, right? So I'm watching everything. I'm watching Michael Jackson, Guns N' Roses, all of that. But for some reason or another, when I saw LL Cool J, when I saw Onyx, when I saw Criss Cross, it was just like, wow, you know? And I would say by 15, 16 years old, I knew that this was what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to be a rapper.
That's what's up. That's dope.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, when I first saw you, of course, it was 106 in Park. You know what I'm saying? But you battled before that, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Talk about the experience of like, the 106 in Park experience, like every week coming, not knowing what beat they're gonna throw on.
Yo, you're right. You
know
don't
what
know
I'm
the
saying?
beat.
That's tough.
You don't know the beat. And on top of that, you also don't know the opponent. That's the other thing. So here's just an interesting facet, right? If you're the challenger, then of course you know who the opponent is because you basically like you're watching it this week and you know, oh, if this guy wins, then that's who I'm battling next week, right?
Facts.
So if you're the challenger, you have a little bit of an edge. If you're the champion, then you really don't know who your opponent is, maybe all the way until the day of the taping. So on the day of the taping, you might have a window of an opportunity to like scan, like, yo, is that guy over there? But that's really all you have. And here's another thing. Even at that time, we're talking about 2001, 2002. It wasn't like you could go on that person's IG
Right.
or Google search them to get dirt or whatever, right? So it was really like you had to use whatever you can at that moment. But all in all, man, like I always look at 106 in Park as not only just a milestone moment in my rap career, but just even as a young man, man, it really, really changed my life. And that is the proverbial big break for me. Yeah.
Word. So of course you were part of the Rough Rider family.
Yes, sir.
You dropped your first album, The Rest Is History.
Yep.
I love that album, by the way.
Salute to you. Salute.
Straight up.
Yeah.
So talk about how, you know what I mean, like the experience of actually making that. Like were a lot of the Rough Rider family around, or were you kind of like?
Great question. So as the years have gone by, I feel like I've went through, the Rough Rider album, The Rest Is History. I would say it's like a girl I dated in high school. All right. meaning like, depending on when you ask me, I might have had different feelings about her. Right. Like when I was younger, I may be like, yo, man, that broad, she, she wasn't the one, you know what I mean? Like this, there was this about her that I didn't like. There was that about her that I didn't like. But as I got older, I'm like, you know what? She's special. She's a special part of my life. So the way I would describe that Rough Rider album is like, to me, at least now, as an older guy, right? Like I'm about to be 40 in 2 years. I'm 38 right now. But as I get older, I definitely feel that what makes that Rough Rider album special and what makes it perfect is actually its flaws, if that makes sense. Because as I listen to it now, man, like it really captured who I was as a 22, 23-year-old, right? Like for me, I've always looked at it as that album, it kind of lacked direction. Like at one point, that's what I really felt. I felt like, this guy doesn't, he doesn't really have a clear idea of what he wants to say or who he is as an artist yet. But now that I look back on it, I'm like, that probably was the case. You know what I mean? Like I'm 22, 23, I'm in the game. I'm on Rough Riders. And then there's these other elements that I'm still discovering and learning about. Like, what does it mean to be an Asian Asian rapper. And it's always been like a balancing act, because it could either go two ways. Like if I don't really embrace it, then I got to deal with maybe certain commentary like, yo, look at him. This dude thinks he legit thinks he's black. You know what I mean? Like he don't, he's, who is this guy? But then if I lean too much on it, then it's like, you'll hear the noise that's like, yo, look at him trying to exploit his own culture, right? Or the word that would often be thrown around, yo, is Jin really just a gimmick? You know what I mean? So I think at real time, like in 2002, 2003, I didn't realize it, but that's actually what I was navigating through. So in all, I was on Ruff Ryders for like about 4 years altogether. So I signed with them in 2002. That The Rest is History album came out in 2004. And then we parted ways in 06. And it was super peaceful. So I'm also very grateful for that. I feel like, God was very gracious in that regard. Like it wasn't like an ugly split. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How did you so did your people like in like Hong Kong and stuff like that, did they support you like 100% on that?
Good question. So when you say my people, are you referring like to my family?
Yeah.
Like that's about my family. So okay. So at that time, all my let's say immediate family, everybody's in New York already. So at that time, so we were all in New York. So as far as my mom, my dad, my grandparents, I have a little sister. Everybody's in New York. So in terms of the question of like, did they support me at that point? Yeah. Like at that point, they were fully on board. They knew what I was doing. I think the most challenging time, and now that I'm a family man and I'm a father of 2 kids, I understand it. The most challenging time was probably from junior high to high school, because I think from my mom and dad's perspective, it was simple. They're just looking at it like, it's not even so much that I said I wanted to be a rapper, but I think when I clearly told them like, oh, by the way, I don't plan on going to college, and on top of that, I also I'm getting my demo tape together. I'm gonna try to get this record deal. Like to them, it was just like, what the heck are you talking about, Jin? You know what I mean? So it was a lot of days of friction and tension in our household regarding that. But like I said, now that I'm a father, I get it. I don't think it was so much that they were against my dreams. I think they were just concerned. And number one, I don't think they really understood what it meant that I wanted to be a rapper. Like, I don't really think the art aspect of it, they don't understand why I loved rhyming and why I loved hip hop so much. But now they do. Now they fully get it. Like my mom and dad, they're like my number one fans, aside from my wife.
Word.
Yeah.
That's what's up. So you've battled a lot of people. People may not know this, but you have a lot of battles, right?
There's a lot.
You battled Serious Jones, Verse, and that's just to name a few people.
Yeah.
Iron Solomon,
yeah. I battled Mr. Fab. Shout out. I'm naming the people that I think are worth naming, I guess you could say, because these are not only just credible battle rappers, but like even in terms of their artistry, so salute to Fab. When I battled Fab, this was at least 15 years ago. And this was a very specific time for me, because this is post 106 in Park, right? So I had already did 106 in Park. And at the time, I think I was just going around performing at different places, car festivals, clubs, things like that. And I think that was one of the first times that I went out to the Bay Area and I'm performing at a car fest, like one of those like Funk Master Flex, car show type things, right? And out comes Mr. Fab, and he was already popping there. Like Fab has always been like a hometown hero.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's always been big in the Bay and for the Bay. So as soon as he comes out, everybody's already like, yo, Fab, they love Fab. And naturally, they know that, he battles, and they know that he gets down like that. So they see Fab, they see Jin, naturally, yo, y'all got to get it on right now. But this wasn't meant to be a battle. I'm there just as a performer.
Right.
But this Jin, the Jin of that time, my mentality was, I want all the smoke. Like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, so the reality is, at that time, I wasn't familiar with Fab, right? I didn't know of his background, but I could tell, like, yo, this is the guy that this is y'all champion. This is who y'all lifting up on your shoulders. Then come on, let's do it, right? And that was just, it's funny because I definitely feel like that part of me, it's not so much my nature now, right? And it's not so much like, yo, I'm shook now. That's not the case. But I just feel like that Jin, 23-year-old Jin, 24-year-old Jin, he literally was just out there like a savage, you know?
You still
23, 23 savage. That's what I'm gonna call him.
23 savage. You still got your Rough Rider chain?
Yeah, I got the Rough Rider chain. I'm thinking about maybe when my son, hopefully it's the older one, maybe when he graduates high school, I'm gonna put it on his neck. So before he walks across the stage to get his
That's dope.
to get his diploma, I'm gonna put the R chain around his neck.
So look, I had a conversation with Big T, right?
Yes.
Big T.
Boom, baka, shalaka, laka.
Yeah. So Big T was talking about all the battles that he didn't get a chance to have. And he was saying, I got all my URL battles, but I don't have all my Smack battles.
Yeah.
You know, my Smack DVD battles. And he mentioned you as someone that he would like to kill.
Oh,
Would you entertain that at all?
Okay, so it's not specifically Big T, but just in general, I'm just so, and I've shared about this on various platforms, right? Whether
because he's going to watch this, he told me, he said, I want to see what his answer is going to be.
Well, I'll answer. So in this, you're asking specifically from the perspective of Big T, right? Because he mentioned, yo, I would love to kill Jin, right? I would love to. So I'll say this. So for us that are students of this, right? We know that when someone says, yo, I would love to kill him, in some way underneath it, that's like a sign of like respect in a way.
Facts.
Not all the time, right? Because someone literally might be like, yo, he's garbage, that's why I want to kill him, right?
Yeah.
That might be the case too. But I'm gonna take it as, I think T is basically saying, yo, I want to kill him because, yo, we all know who Jin is and we know what he does, right? And I want to. So I am, yo, I'm a I'm not gonna say I'm a studier, but I know what T does. I know what Big T does. I know his pedigree. I know his ability. So to answer the question directly, if you're watching this, T, I mean, I haven't battled in so long, and on a broad level, I just feel like, yo, unless I knew that my head was really in it, I just don't see me battling again. However, if they were like, yo, Jin, make a list of 20 dudes that you would entertain battling, I would for sure throw Big T in there. For sure, for sure. Like, for sure, it wouldn't be like, yo, Big T, don't even bother me with that boom baka laka. Don't come around here with that boom baka laka shaka. Nah, yo, salute to Big. You know, has Big T ever battled O-Red? Do you know?
I don't.
Possibly.
You know what?
I don't know.
I think he has.
I'm just wondering if there was ever a round where it was like boom baka laka shaka versus like, you know, what O-Red does, right? When O-Red's like, like he'd be coming up with his own language or something like that.
Right, facts. Do you watch battles today still?
Heavy. What do you think? I just referenced Big T and O-Red, so to a certain degree, I'm tapped in.
Word.
I'm tapped in.
I like what they're doing with the caffeine situation and everything.
The caffeine situation is dope. What ARP is doing, in general, what RBE is dope. And then, you know, of course, like, aside from the leagues that are the quote unquote the top tier, right, really main big platforms, you know, you do have all these other leagues that are just popping up. And I know some people kind of aren't necessarily too they don't vibe with that too much, because it's like, yo, it's just oversaturating, right? Like everyone's got a league. There's a league here, a league there. And I could see that it could become like an oversaturation type of situation. But I also believe that the ones that really are about it, meaning like that are really trying to build something, they're the only ones that are going to survive. Because the leagues that are just like kind of looking at it as like, yo, we could build something and hopefully build it into a URL or get a caffeine situation or a KOTD type of thing, right? Those aren't going to last long.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Like if they doing it just for a look, it's not going to last long. Because I tell you one thing, it is no joke running a league. I've never done it, but I've never done it, but I can tell right off the bat, it's no joke. It's not easy. It's a lot of behind the scenes, hard work, which is why I look at guys like, whether it's Smack and Beasley, all the way to RBE, like I said, all the way to KOTD, and even what those guys do in London. Like I know Shadi Horror, he has a league now, but all those guys, It's a lot of work, yo.
I'm sure you got to deal with different, personalities and
Egos, all type of stuff.
I don't want to battle second. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what? I think now when you were battling, you were strictly freestyling. Like, you know what I mean? Now, if you were to pin anything,
it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
It's switched.
They get a whole nother gen.
Well, that's the thing. That's a gen that nobody's really seen yet. Because I feel like I did kind of slowly, I don't want to say disappear, but I slowly did remove myself from the sport as it was making that big transition. Like there was one moment where it really transitioned from primarily off the top to, yo, we just straight up writing for each other. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I know I'm battling Lito in July. Great. I got 4 months. I'm gonna come up with 5 fire rounds and we're gonna do it like that. You know what I mean? Like, so that's a big switch. Yeah.
So one thing for me, like, I am a God-fearing man.
Amen.
And yes, sir. So it was interesting for me to hear about, your transition from, the music that you were making to more faith-based.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Talk about that a little bit, like that. What got you to that level? You know what I mean? Like where you felt like, you know what, this is what I want to do.
It's a combination of factors. So if I kind of try to be as concise about it as possible, which is hard sometimes because it's real. You know what I mean? Like when you're talking about, yo, Jin, how did you feel your life really transformed as it pertains to the gospel? It's like, yo, I want to share every last detail, you know what I mean? Which is why sometimes that's the challenge and where I need to grow in is how do I make it as concise as possible? So to answer your question, man, I think number one, I didn't grow up in the church, so to speak, right? Like I didn't grow up in a household where we was going to church every Sunday, saying our prayers before meals and that traditional sense, right? I didn't. The only one person that was in my life was an auntie that I had. Kathy, her name is. And Aunt Kathy, from when I was a little kid, I remember, would just always instill in me, like, Jesus loves you, Jin. And, and God, God loves you no matter what. So she always poured that into me, not only just through her words, but through her action too. So I just always felt this type of love, specifically from Auntie Kathy, that was unique to everything else in the world. So maybe it's just as simple as that. That's how God used her. So she planted these seeds when I was a kid. I guess I just didn't realize that it wasn't until I would be a grown ass man, so to speak, that these seeds would slowly come blossom.
Right.
And there's very specific incidences and specific seasons of my life where this happened. So one is when I went to Hong Kong. So kind of backtracking a bit to the whole Rough Rider thing, right? So when I split with Rough Riders in 2006, even though it was a positive split, like there was no bitterness and no drama, for the next year or two, it left me in a I mean, I guess I'll say it like this. It left me in the sunken place, right? Like my own version of the sunken place, you know what I mean? And the lady, she's like hitting the cup and I'm just sitting in the chair and I'm just like, I was in the sunken place, yo, for like a good year or two. And that just came from, just trying to figure out what the heck happened, like, yo, how did I end up here? I feel like I arrived at the mountaintop and I'm like, yo, this is it, Jen. This is everything you dreamed about as a kid. And then boom, next thing you know, I'm like flat on my face, flat on my, like back, just looking up like, yo, like what's going on? So 2006, 7, and part of 8, that was my zone. I went to Hong Kong at some point in 2008. And I went there really thinking I would be there for a few months for music, because I started doing music in Chinese, right? Okay. So that was a big shift. But then what happened was, aside from the career opportunities in Hong Kong, what really caught me off guard is Hong Kong is where I feel like I experienced for the first time what it means to have an intimate relationship with God. And that's the best way I'll put it. And it was in Hong Kong that this happened. So in Hong Kong is where I tapped into like a church that would become, yo, this is the church that I attend. You know what I mean? And I don't even mean just like, yo, every Sunday, 9 a.m., I'm doing that. I'm there for the worship. I'm there for the message. But more importantly, I'm living and growing with this church. So like, yo, for the Tuesday night Bible study, the small groups, we'll do that. And then on Friday night, yo, we might even just go have dinner, or we'll go to karaoke or something like that, right? Like not everything, like when you're walking the Christian faith and the Christian walk, right, with your brothers and sisters, not every single thing is let's open up our Bibles to, Deuteronomy, that part is that part. But there's also the part of just living life together. And it's through those relationships and those interactions that you're also, getting closer to God, right? So that's kind of the general, I think, the general scope of what happened for me. And in those 3-4 years that I was in Hong Kong, it naturally spilled into, like you brought up, my music. So at no point ever, you can't find one interview or one article where I ever came out and said, yo, by the way, what's up, y'all? My name is Jin. I'm doing Christian rap now.
Right.
So I never approached it like that. However, at the same time, as my music was starting to transition as well, like you said, it was more faith-based. The content was more rooted in, me talking about, the grace of God and the love of God that I felt. Just naturally to the listener, they're like, Jin's doing Christian rap now. And although I never came out and said I am, as well, I never refuted it, right? Like I never denied it and I never shut it down either.
Word.
Like I always just felt like what I call it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like I could call it anything, but at the heart of it, if it doesn't speak to you like that, then it's not what I'm saying it is, Simultaneously, if I don't say, I'm a Christian rapper now, but if you listen to a song from that season of my life and it hits you, it convicts you in some way, that's God's work too. So my thing is just, I understand categories and I understand labeling. Like, Lecrae, he's a Christian rapper. But even right now, some people will be like, this is kind of how divided it is, to be honest, even within the culture of Christian rap, so to speak.
This is true.
You have people that are like, nah, Lecrae ain't a Christian rapper no more, because he's really shifted. And I only mention Lecrae because I think he's a great leader, number one, but he's also a great example of, I feel like, maybe some of the shortcomings of what happens when you do have these titles. Because if you're like, is he still serving God with his music? Who knows? We don't know who his music is speaking to, but I do understand there's some people that are like, nah, I remember when Lecrae first came out, his first song that I heard, it was called Jesus Music, which was my first Lecrae song that I ever heard too. It's literally called Jesus Music and it's hard, like it still bangs. But in recent years, his music has shifted too.
Right.
And in that sense, you have people that are like, nah, his music ain't, it ain't for the church anymore. He's trying to appeal to the world and this, that, and the third. So, shout out to him,
It's
think,
really crazy because I have friends that, because I make music too, right? I have friends that, we're taking that kind of that lane in Christian rap.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But, one of my close friends, he's like, man, as soon as I make something that is kind of not for the Christian, the Christian ear, they kind of like judge me a little bit and paint me into that box, even though I never said I was a Christian rapper. I just talk about God and my music. So he's like, I just want to be considered a creator, making creative music, not necessarily being painted into a corner where everything I make, you're going to look at me like, okay, well, if you're talking about God in this song, but not in this song, then you're going to judge me, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So, so I totally understand, what you're saying. One of my favorite movies is, cause I love Chinese culture, always have since a kid. Anytime I get Chinese food, I feel like I cannot eat it unless I have chopsticks. Straight up. I love like the culture period. Like, you know what I mean? Like, everything about like, I hope to visit there one day. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I love the culture. You know what I'm saying? Bruce Lee, everything about Chinese culture. I love.
So dope.
So the man with the iron fist. RZA, right?
RZA. Yeah.
I love that movie. You know what I mean?
It's
Even
special,
though you got killed in it, you know what I'm saying? Which was
you just gonna ruin it for everybody that
Yo, if they ain't seen it by, they had to see it by now, bro.
You're right. If they haven't seen it, you're right.
You know what I'm saying?
You bring up a good point, which is at some point, spoilers, like they expire.
Yeah,
Spoilers
I mean,
expire. You're right.
Yo, I would, if I spoiled it, I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? But the movie is awesome. How was it working with RZA in that?
Yo, that joint, it was like, it was a fantasy and it was surreal in two ways. So number one, I am a Wu-Tang stan. Okay, like I'm a self-proclaimed Wu-Tang stan. So when I say Wu-Tang, because I mean across the board. So whether you're talking RZA, you're talking Ghost, you're talking Method Man, you're talking Jizza, you're talking God Bless the Dead, ODB, just across the board, right? I'm a Wu-Tang stan. I'm a student. I just soak up Wu-Tang as a collective and individually, artistically. I'm all about it. So when I knew that I was gonna get casted for The Man with the Iron Fist, and I knew that this was basically, like, to be honest, this was RZA's love letter to martial arts films. Because I mean, we all know, like, Wu-Tang literally is Wu-Tang because of Kung Fu flicks. Literally.
Facts.
That's why we have Wu-Tang Clan, because RZA, you know, and his collective, they embraced Chinese culture and martial arts culture so much that they're like, nah, this is what we present into the world. Like, yeah, we MCs and we're about our knowledge and our wisdom, but we're presenting it in the form and fashion of this culture that we love and appreciate, right? Martial arts and martial arts films, and even a lot of the philosophies. So not even just the punching and kicking,
right,
but just the philosophies, you know? So it was amazing, man. So number one, being able to connect with RZA in that capacity. And then on top of that, man, yo, like, it was just fun. Like, you're right, I died, right? So I died. But here's the thing, though. I died in a magnificent way.
Facts.
Yo, who killed me, though? Batista, though. Shout
out Batista.
Batista. He said, yo, I'm done. And just
shout out Batista. I love that. You know what's crazy?
Batista.
I watched it again today. That's one of my favorite movies, Kung Fu movies. Like, straight, I'm a Kung Fu head. Like, I watch Kung Fu movies all day. My fiance. Question.
That joint had Daniel Wu in it. Did you ever check out Daniel Wu's his series, Into the Badlands? Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
That joint is dope too. It's I think they got like 3 seasons. I mean, they ended the show, but there's like 3 seasons.
Into the Badlands was great.
Into the Badlands was fire. So shout out to Daniel Wu, man.
Into the Badlands is crazy. Have you seen on Netflix they have like a zombie Korean film? It's like it's a series. It's
what's the name of it? Because I know there's a few. I think I have an idea of what you're talking about.
I'm about to tell you, because I mean it's super dope.
I know we're bouncing around, but speaking of zombies and Korean joints, have you seen The Last Train to Busan?
Kingdom.
Oh, Kingdom. I know of Kingdom, but I haven't watched it.
You got to see it.
It's crazy, right?
It's crazy.
Yo, shout out to King. Shout out to Kingdom.
Shout out to Kingdom. What was the one you asked me about?
Last Train to Busan. It's a movie.
No, I haven't seen that.
It's a movie. So it's zombie based, but it's not martial arts though. So it's called Last Train to Busan. Yo, Netflix is up there. You good?
Yeah.
Last
Kingdom's
Train
on
to
Netflix
Busan.
too. Yeah,
Kingdom's on Netflix. Yeah,
Netflix is up there. Couple more questions, bro. Just a few more.
Absolutely.
No
doubt.
Will we see Jimmy in Fast and the Furious?
Oh my gosh, that's hey, I feel like I've made every effort that I humanly can to try to get back on the radar. Yo, it's funny because literally, like, I don't remember exactly what year, but maybe like 5, 6, 7 years ago, I legit started a petition. I started a formal petition, bring back Jimmy, online. And yo, on the low, it got like 10,000 signatures. I've removed the page and I've deleted it already, but like I actually went on, like, there's a website, right? petition.org, something like that. And, you know, people make all type of petitions up there. And most of them, you know, are serious, right? Like, oh, we want to change this law in this city, or we want to do this and do that. But I was like, yo, I'm starting a petition to bring back Jimmy. And it got 10,000 signatures. So shout out to everybody that is invested the way I am, as far as Jimmy in the Fast and the Furious franchise. But at this point, man, I feel like I just gotta let go and let God. Amen. I gotta let go and let
Facts.
God, yo. I gotta let go.
I feel like you could put in a call to Tyrese or Luda or something.
Yeah. I always joke around about how when they introduced Jimmy, right? The first time that Tyrese shows up at the garage, right? In part two, he shows up at the garage, and rest in peace as well to Paul Walker.
Paul Walker, right?
And Paul Walker is showing Tyrese around the garage, right? And he actually says, "Yeah, this is Jimmy right here. He's like a super mechanic, right? Right." So I always laugh about how he's such a good mechanic that they basically say, "Yo, we don't need him for the rest of the missions." They're like, "Yo, we're gonna travel to Dubai. We're gonna
Right.
go to Tokyo. We're gonna go travel the world, but we don't need this amazing. We don't need this amazing mechanic. So let's just leave him right here in Miami."
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, maybe one day they'll put the call in because they brought back Bow Wow on this one. I heard
They did. I heard they got. So from what I heard, the next one coming out is 9, right? I think it's 9, and they said that they'll do 10 and 11, and then that's it. So
maybe
we'll
10
see.
they'll bring back everybody.
I don't know. I'm not holding my breath, Lito.
Man, listen. We gotta. If I gotta try to contact somebody, man, we gotta get you back on there, bro. So you got any? What new movies or projects you working on right now?
So interestingly, the last film project that I was able to be a part of, it just came out. I mean, with this whole COVID and the pandemic, it's really shifted how movies come out, right? Like, I think at least as of right now, some theaters are still open and some people are going to theaters, but let's just say for the most part, everything is hitting straight to streaming, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's
HBO
Netflix,
Max.
HBO Max, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, whatever it is, right? Hulu. So a film that I did, I did it back in 2018. So we filmed it actually like 3 years ago, but it just hit the streams. It's called Monster Hunter.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm not in it heavy, but it was a dope experience. So that joint is Mila Jovovich, who's from the Resident Evil joints.
Yep.
She was in that joint Fifth Element with Bruce Willis. So she's an OG.
Right.
But she's the star of this one. And also aside from her, T.I.'s in this joint. Megan Good is in this joint.
Okay.
So it was dope. Yeah. It's based off the video game. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the video game Monster Hunter. You ever heard of it?
I don't
Monster Hunter.
I don't think I heard of it, but I didn't play it.
Yeah, me neither. So I never really I also had heard of it, but I wasn't familiar with it. But apparently, it's got like a really like large cult following.
Okay.
So I guess, it's run by Capcom too, right? So it's a Capcom game. So I guess they were like, we want to make a movie about it. And they went with Mila, who's, definitely got experience in video game to movies, right? As far as the Resident Evil joints. I mean, there's like what? There's probably like 9 or 10 of those as well.
There's a lot of
There's a lot of Resident Evil movies. Yeah. But it was dope. It was a dope experience. We shot that in South Africa. So first time out in South Africa.
Word.
Just amazing experience.
I'm definitely going to have to check that out. Is that on like a HBO Max or?
I don't think it's Max. I think it just, how different people have different service providers at home, like Fios or, but how in those providers, they have movie, like where you can watch movies as well. So I know it's hit all of those. So it's not on like a Netflix or Hulu. It's just on direct to TV, I guess. Yeah. Direct to TV. Yeah.
I got it. Shout out to Fire Stick.
Fire Stick too. Shout out to Fire Stick.
Thanks. Listen, man, I appreciate the whole conversation that we had, man. This was awesome. I feel like I got to know you more, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
On a deeper scale, especially with your faith, because I'm heavy, I'm hoping to be a husband this year. You know what I'm saying?
God, man.
Yes, sir.
Yo, I wish you were in I don't know if she watches your show or not, but
yeah, she does.
Have you proposed yet?
Yeah, it's already.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you already set the wheel in motion.
Right.
Yo,
yes, sir.
I wish you and your fiance the best, man. Absolutely.
I appreciate it, man. And peace and blessings to you and your family and your wife and kids, man. This is awesome. You have anything you want to promote?
Yeah, so I think as of recent, I'm really invested and really active in trying to get my podcast kind of really to get traction. So I launched it like about a month ago. So I'm about on episode 5, depending on when the viewer watches this. But I just got it off the ground. It's called Under the Ginfluence.
Yes,
So
sir.
you can check it out on Spotify. But also I know some people like to watch the video version too. You could view it on my YouTube channel. So my YouTube is pretty straightforward. YouTube.com/MCGin. So yeah, I feel like the podcast is something that like I'm very aware that I'm quite late in the game, right? Like launching a podcast in 2021 is definitely something that you're like, yo, like you're late to the game, Jen. However, I want to share this quote that someone said to me. The quote is, you know when it was the perfect time to launch a podcast? 10 years ago. You know when's the second most perfect time to launch a podcast? Today. So
That's right.
boom. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
There you
And
go.
you know how I look at things too, like I mean, it's gonna do well anyway. You know what I mean? I don't really do things for, I'm a subscriber to your podcast, to your channel.
Salute.
You know what I'm saying?
Salute.
For sure. But yeah, someone told me before, because I when I thought about making a podcast, they was like, Lito, man, like, if you don't get a whole bunch of followers, is it gonna matter to you? I said, it don't really matter to me, man. Like, I'll just walk slowly and it's still gonna kill, like Michael Myers.
Bars. Don DeMarco.
You know what I'm saying? So everyone else is trying to be fast, not me. Take your time.
Michael Myers be walking mad slow too.
Mad slow and kill everybody.
I ain't never seen Michael Myers run once. Never.
Ever. But somehow he catches up.
But he got mad bodies though. he got mad.
That's a fact, man. This is awesome. This is my guy, MC Jin.
God bless you.
This is Happy Hour with Lito. Peace to everybody, and we out.